Today we're going to be using the properties of logarithms to expand logarithmic functions, using the product property, quotient property, and power property. Our example is log base 2 of 4 squared times 3 to the 4th. Our first step is to use the product property to expand it. This means we're going to take log base 2 and separate these two functions with a plus sign. So it'll end up being log base 2 of the first term, so 4 squared, plus log base 2 of the second term, so 3 to the 4th. Step 2 will be to use the power property to expand it again. So we're going to take this 2 from the squared on the 4 and put it in front, so we get 2 log base 2 of 4, plus we're going to do the same thing with the 4 and make it 4 log base 2 of 3. And that'll be your answer. Then we're going to take log base 5 of 1 250th and expand it using the quotient property. This means we're going to take log base 5 of the numerator minus log base 5 of the denominator and fill in the blanks accordingly. And there you go.
Hi, today we're going to be expanding and condensing logarithmic expressions. The first thing that you need to really think about is, what is a term? That's going to be really, really helpful. A term is really anything separated by like a plus sign, a minus sign, things like that. So if you have x plus y, x is a term and y is a term, and they're separated by a plus sign here. So that's going to get us into an example, okay? Our logarithmic expression is going to be log base 4, and then you have to see these here, this 5, this x cubed, and this y. The way that we're going to expand this is by making these each their own individual terms with the log base 4 in front. So like this 5 here is its own term, and I'll just kind of write a line under there to show that. This is going to be its own term. So it's going to become log base 4 5 right here. And then you're going to put a plus sign because that's going to separate a term. So you can kind of think about this as like one term. And then you see here that you have another term right here, this x cubed. And then this x cubed is also going to go behind a log base 4. So that's going to be like a second term. And then this y is also a term. And that's also going to go after log base 4. And what that's doing is, see, this is the product property essentially. And what you're doing is you're making them like 3 separate terms with the log base 4 in the front. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use the power property also in this expansion because of this x cubed. So this 3 is going to go in front in your final answer, and this is going to be the final expanded version. So the thing to remember when you're expanding is to look at your logarithmic expression and think, all right, how many terms am I going to have based on, how many things are behind my log? And since this one is 3, you're going to have 2 plus signs, and you can think of it that way. The next thing we're going to be doing is condensing, which is taking an expanded logarithmic expression and shrinking it back down. So it would be like taking our longer answer before and kind of going backwards and putting it back in the original form that we started with to expand. So taking this condensed form, we see this 2 in front, and by knowing our power property, we know that that 2 is probably going to be an exponent somewhere in our expression. We see that there's a subtraction sign, and learning about our products of logarithms, we know that that's going to mean that we're going to be dividing in this expression. And we see that we have an x plus 2 in parentheses, and we can consider that to be one term. And then we can see this x is also going to be a term. So that's 2 terms. And we're going to be putting them together. So what you're going to be doing first is, like I said, the power property. You're going to be taking this 2, and as you can see, it's in this term. So it's going to have to go with this x plus 2. So you're going to go ahead and raise that x plus 2 squared. You're going to square that. And that's going to become just one term by itself. And you're going to leave this one alone because there's not really anything you can do here. And I'm sorry, this should actually be a minus sign. And since you are subtracting them, you are going to be dividing, like we said before. So what you're going to do is the terms that are being subtracted, you're going to put over. Kind of forget that this line, this is here. Just kind of forget this is here because the subtraction sign is going to be talking about these two. And you're going to go ahead and put one on top of the other and divide them. And that's really all there is to expanding and condensing logarithm expressions. What it really comes down to is knowing what a term is and how these are going to be separated by a sign depending on whether they're being multiplied or they're being subtracted.